September 28th, 1994. The Baltic Sea. A passenger ferry with 989 people on board is crossing from Estonia to Sweden. Families, friends, people heading home after a night of dancing and drinks. Within 1 hour, 852 of them would be dead. The official investigation blamed a failed door. Case closed. But here's what they don't tell you. The wreck was immediately sealed by law. Visiting it became a crime punishable by prison. Investigation files were locked until the year 2069. Why? What are they hiding? When filmmakers illegally dove to the wreck in 2020, they discovered something that changed everything. A hole in the hull, in the wrong place, evidence that contradicted the official story. They were arrested, fined, and silenced. This is the story of the MS Estonia, the disaster they don't want you to know about. The Baltic Sea, September 27, 1994. The MS Estonia is a roll-on, roll-off ferry, meaning cars and trucks drive directly onto the vehicle deck through a massive bow door at the front of the ship. At 157 meters long, she's one of the largest ferries operating in the Baltic. Tonight, she's making a routine overnight crossing from Tallinn, Estonia, to Stockholm, Sweden, a journey she's made hundreds of times before. On board are 989 souls. Passengers include families returning from holidays, truck drivers transporting cargo, and Estonians seeking work in Sweden. Many are in the disco on deck 6, dancing and celebrating. Others sleep in their cabins, rocked gently by the waves. The crew of 186 prepares for a standard crossing. Captain Arvo Andresson, an experienced seaman, oversees the departure from the bridge. The weather forecast shows moderate conditions, nothing the Estonia can't handle. At 7:15 p.m., the Estonia departs Tallinn on schedule. The massive bow visor, a 55-ton steel door covering the bow ramp, is sealed shut, or so everyone believes. For the first few hours, everything is normal. Passengers eat dinner, socialize in the bars, and settle in for the night crossing. The disco is packed with people dancing to 90s music. Children play in the lounges while their parents relax. By 11 p.m., most passengers have retired to their cabins. The ship is cruising at 15 knots through moderate seas. The crew performs routine checks. All systems appear normal. But beneath the waterline, something is already going terribly wrong. Unknown to anyone on board, the bow visor's locking mechanisms are under extreme stress. With every wave that crashes against the massive steel door, the locks weaken. Metal fatigue from years of operation has created invisible cracks. At approximately midnight, a crew member in the bow area reports strange metallic banging sounds. The report is logged, but not immediately investigated. On a ship this size, strange noises are common. By 12:30 a.m., the Estonia is 22 nautical miles northwest of the Estonian island of Uto. The water depth here is 74 meters. The night is dark. The temperature is dropping. And the bow visor is about to fail catastrophically. 1 a.m., September 28th, 1994. On the bridge, the crew notices the ship beginning to list slightly to starboard. Nothing alarming yet. Ferries often shift slightly with wave action. Then, without warning, a thunderous metallic crash echoes through the ship. The 55-ton bow visor has torn completely away from the ship. But it doesn't sink immediately. Instead, it hangs by a single locking point, swinging wildly and smashing against the bow ramp, the actual watertight door behind it. The impacts are devastating. The ramp, never designed to face the full force of the sea, is pounded open. Within seconds, thousands of tons of seawater begin flooding onto the vehicle deck. In the disco on deck 6, passengers feel the ship lurch violently. The music stops. Glasses slide off tables and shatter. People stumble and fall. The Estonia lists 15 degrees to starboard in less than a minute. On the vehicle deck below, the sea rushes in like a tsunami. Cars break free from their moorings and slide across the deck. Trucks crash into walls. The water level rises with terrifying speed. The ship's public address system crackles to life, but the announcement is in Estonian first, then Swedish. Crucial seconds lost. By the time the message translates, the list has reached 30 degrees. People in the corridors are thrown against walls. The ship's angle makes walking impossible. Passengers claw their way upward, fighting gravity. Within 10 minutes of the initial failure, the Estonia is listing 45 degrees. The bow is underwater. Water floods into passenger areas through ventilation shafts and open doors. In the cabins, people wake to find their rooms tilted at impossible angles. Water pours under doors. Furniture slides and crashes. Children scream. Parents desperately try to reach their kids in other cabins, but the corridors had become vertical shafts. The crew attempts to lower lifeboats, but the extreme list makes it nearly impossible. Davits designed to work on a level ship are useless at this angle. Only one lifeboat successfully launches, and it's nearly empty. Passengers who make it to open decks find themselves facing a new horror, jumping into the Baltic Sea. The water temperature is 10 degrees Celsius. Survival time, 30 minutes maximum. Some jump. Others cling to railings, praying for rescue. At 1:30 a.m., just 30 minutes after the initial failure, the Estonia rolls completely onto her side. Her starboard side becomes the new deck as the ship lies flat on the surface. People slide down the hall into the freezing water. Hundreds are still trapped inside, in air pockets, screaming for help that will never come. At 1:50 a.m., 50 minutes after the bow visor failed, the MS Estonia raises her bow one final time and plunges stern first into the Baltic Sea. She sinks in 74 meters of water, taking 852 people with her. The sea goes silent.
The first rescue ships arrive at 2:12 a.m., 22 minutes after the Estonia disappeared. What they find is a scene of unimaginable horror. The dark Baltic Sea is filled with bodies. People floating in life jackets, frozen to death by hypothermia. Some were still alive, barely, crying out weakly for help. Rescue crews work frantically through the night. But the water is so cold that even strong swimmers last only minutes. By dawn, it's clear that most of the 989 people on board are gone. Final count, 137 survivors, 852 dead. It's the deadliest peacetime maritime disaster in European waters since the Titanic. But here's where the story gets strange. Within days, the governments of Sweden, Finland, and Estonia make an extraordinary decision. The wreck of the Estonia will be declared a grave site. Visiting it will be illegal. Diving to it will be a criminal offense. In 1995, they go even further. The wreck is covered with concrete and gravel, entombing it forever on the seabed. A protective zone is established. Anyone who approaches faces prosecution. The official investigation concludes in 1997. The bow visor failed due to poor design and maintenance. The locks broke, water flooded in, the ship capsized. Tragic accident, case closed. But families of the victims aren't satisfied. Why seal the wreck? Why make it a crime to investigate? Why lock investigation files until 2069, 75 years after the disaster? The conspiracy theories begin almost immediately. Some claim the Estonia was carrying secret Soviet military equipment, possibly missiles or electronics, being smuggled to the West. A Swedish customs officer later testified that the ferry had been used for such transports weeks before the disaster. Others suggest an explosion occurred on the vehicle deck, possibly from military cargo detonating. This would explain the rapid flooding and the extreme list. In 2000, a German journalist named Jutta Rabe obtained samples from the wreck through divers. Independent analysis suggested evidence of an explosion. The governments dismissed her findings. Then, in 2020, two Swedish filmmakers did the unthinkable. They illegally sent an underwater robot to the Estonia wreck for a documentary. What they found shocked the world. A 4-meter hole in the hull, on the starboard side, in a location that made no sense if the only damage was a failed bow door. The hole appeared to go inward, as if something had punched through from outside, not outward as water pressure would cause. The documentary aired. The evidence seemed clear. Something had struck the Estonia, something the official investigation had missed or hidden. The Swedish government's response? They prosecuted the filmmakers, convicted them of disturbing a grave, fined them, and reaffirmed that the wreck would remain sealed. In 2021, pressure from families forced a new investigation. This one confirmed that, yes, there was a hole in the hull, but they claimed it was caused by the sinking process itself. The families don't believe it. Survivors don't believe it. Independent maritime experts don't believe it. To this day, the truth remains buried on the seabed of the Baltic Sea, sealed under concrete and protected by law.
The Estonia disaster changed ferry safety forever. New international regulations require improved bow door designs, watertight compartments on vehicle decks, better emergency training for crews, stricter maintenance schedules. These changes have saved lives. Modern ferries are significantly safer than the Estonia was, but the families of the 852 victims still have no closure. They still have questions no government will answer. Why seal the wreck? Why prosecute anyone who tries to investigate? What was really on board that night? Was it really just a failed door? Or was something else happening in the Baltic Sea in 1994? Something involving military cargo, international smuggling, or Cold War secrets that governments still want hidden? The official story says, tragic accident, case closed. But 30 years later, with investigation files sealed until 2069, with the wreck entombed in concrete, with evidence of a mysterious hull breach, can we really believe that's the whole truth? Of the 852 people who died that night, only 94 bodies were ever recovered. The rest remain inside the Estonia, sealed in their steel tomb at the bottom of the Baltic Sea. They deserve the truth. Their families deserve answers. But as long as the wreck remains illegal to visit, as long as files stay sealed, as long as governments refuse to release all the evidence, the MS Estonia will remain not just a tragedy, but a mystery, a sealed secret, lying in the dark, 74 meters down, waiting for someone brave enough to uncover what really happened on September 28, 1994. The Estonia disaster shows us that sometimes the questions are more disturbing than the answers. 852 people died. Families still don't know why, and governments have made sure no one can find out. If this story left you with more questions than answers, you're not alone. Hit that subscribe button because we're investigating maritime disasters where the official story doesn't add up. Drop a comment. Do you think there's a cover-up? What do you think was really on that ship? And if you want to see the actual footage from the illegal 2020 dive, the footage that got filmmakers arrested, I've linked to the documentary in the description. Thanks for watching. Question everything. And remember, when someone makes it illegal to ask questions, that's exactly when you should start asking them. The Estonia, 852 souls, 30 years of silence. The truth is still down there.